Good morning, it's Thursday here in Tombstone. My sister's coming to pick me up and we're going to go to Bisbee and do the Queen Copper, no, maybe it's the Copper Queen tour of the mine. It is 47 degrees year round in there, so I'm wearing my jacket or hoodie, hoodie. And don't know if they're going to let me record or not, but we'll find out. If you see this, then they let me record. See you in a little bit. This is where Arizona feels like Pittsburgh. Look at these trees. All those mountains are covered in trees. Big trees. Not fig trees, big trees.
I'm sorry, I'll get out of your way.
I'll get on my way.
I know after this program. Good.
made out of scrap metal.
Well, here we are at Queen City Mine.
Vesta.
Oh, I'm all wrong. It's the Copper Queen Mine.
Yeah, Copper Queen, yeah.
Good, how are you? I think we're...
We can't. I got a metal thing behind me. All aboard!
So he used to work in this mine until they laid him off.
Yeah, that's what the guy told me from the campground.
You don't always get...
No, we broke down. I got my light too.
If you look on these walls, you'll see all that black.
Yeah.
That's stuff. There's a big fire here, it's like a way to go. I don't think I've ever tried to go back to the home.
Put the pointy hand against the nail in it.
Forget this. I'm not staying on this. I'm gonna walk. I bet you that exit sign doesn't work. If I hit the test button. I'm just, because mostly everywhere you go, they don't work. I want to go push the button. Thanks. Kind of got a bug me. I didn't know what it was. I'm going through very well. If you hit the test button, it should turn. It should stay on. Meaning it has no electricity in it, but it still works. with batteries in them.
I'll be right back, ladies.
Oh crap.
When you get up there, you can tell the world that I have to read down. Yes, thank you so much.
I didn't know there were steps in here.
Yeah, so there was a bit.
Looks like a really big piece of rebar or something.
Wish you could see. You good? Yeah. You want to go first?
If I fall, I'll fall on you now. Oh jeez. There's somebody up here.
That's what they call a bug hole. I was driving tunnel up in Utah. One of those tunnel boring machines. I hit a bug hole like that. It was full of petrified bees. They had turned to iron pyrite. The wings and legs were gone, but you could tell there were still bees. They shut that whole job down for 2 weeks. Here come the University of Utah, make a big study. I only made one mistake. I didn't take a couple of handful of those and put in my lunchbox. I'd be down in the Bahamas now instead of doing this. Okay, everyone, this is what they call a stope, S-T-O-P-E. Now, how they discovered this area right here, up there where that light is, they were following a vein of silver from outside. They thought this was another tombstone, silver mine only. They got to this point, they hit what they call the mother lode, very high-grade copper. They backed up from here, went back to the Queen mine, dropped down 100 feet, and came up from down there where you see that light is. It took them about 4.5 years just to mine this little area out. The reason why I was hand drilling, hand mucking, very slow process. Now we had a phantom in this mine. His name was Headless John. There wasn't a miner in this camp that ever did anything wrong. We blamed everything on him. So look right there, there's a portrait of him right there in the rock. Now if you guys look up here behind me, sir, right up here. See that green and blue in the center? Azurite and malachite. That's where your copper was found. The black ring that goes around it, silver and zinc. Then you drop down to that orangish red looking color, it's called hematite. The gold is in the hematite. Now 97 years of mining here, there was 8 billion pounds of copper taken out of these mines. 80 million ounces of silver, 3 million ounces of gold, and that's not even counting the lead and zinc that was mined here. Any questions before I go any further? No? Okay. Now, I answered that real quick. Now, in the 1880s here, the miners were working 2 10-hour shifts. They were issued 3 candles apiece for that 10-hour shift, and they made a whopping $3.50 a day. But at that time here, you could buy a loaf of bread for a penny. You could go to the best steakhouse in town with dessert for about 14 cents. So the money was actually pretty good compared to what the cost of living was. This is what's up so long ago. I'm gonna have to get right here. So you come right here and use my prop.
Okay, I'll do that.
That's why they put that there, so I have something to hold on to. This is what took so long though, the hand drilling. You start out here with what they call a starter steel, 4-pound hammer. We call this a single jack. This is what you started your holes with. We call that collaring in. Now, every time you hit this thing, you turn it in a quarter turn. Every time, quarter. Reason? Chisel bit, it gets stuck. And you want a nice clean round hole, because dynamite likes round holes. Now, once you got collared in, you would switch to a regular drill steel. 12-pound hammer. This is called a double jack. The reason? One man's got to hold that steel and turn it, while the other one swings this hammer. You got to remember, all they had was candles, but they got very good at it because they knew tomorrow their partner would be swinging it. You mess up today, it's payback tomorrow. Now it would take them about 9 hours to drill 6 3-foot holes. They would load it with dynamite and blast it. Now the only way you had to get it out of here was wheelbarrows and shovels. You shovel it into a wheelbarrow right here and tram it all the way down there where that light is. There was a little wooden ramp. They'd run up on that ramp, dump it into the ore car. When it got full, you push it around to the queen and hoist it out of here. Now, 97 years again. 386 men lost their life in this mine. Thousands were injured. And a lot more died from silicosis, which at that time they didn't know what it was. They thought the men had pneumonia. So it's not even in the record books. Is everyone familiar with silicosis? Yeah. Yes, 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 no? Okay, the coal miners, the black lung and the coal dust. Here, it was the silica in the dust. Set up in your lungs the same way. Now, after the hand drilling here, we had 3 different types of miners in this camp. If you'll look back up here in this right-hand corner, you see that mannequin standing by that drill? Yeah. That drill is what they call a stoker drill. It's for drilling straight up only. That's what you call a raised miner. What the raised miners did here is they drove a raise from one level, 100 feet, straight up to the next level. They're the only miners in this camp that didn't have an opposite shift. The reason? That was the most dangerous, nastiest, dirtiest job here. And they wanted to know exactly what was over their head every time they climbed up in there. But they got paid the best. 5 foot a day for the company. Anything over 5 foot was $80 a piece per foot in bonus money. Then you had the guys that drove the crosscuts up here. They got $20 a foot. The reason for the big difference? It's a lot easier to work on the flat, and it's a whole lot safer. They hung all the air and water lines, put in a railroad track, and ventilation tubing. Then you had the stope miners here. That's what I did. I worked in these stopes here from 1970 to 75. We got paid tonnage. But a quarter to get out to the company, anything over that was our bonus money. Now here in 1975, we were only making $45 a day. That wasn't any money. That's not what we stayed for. It was the bonus. We called it JIPO back then. The last period I worked here, made me $45 a day, plus $116 a day in bonus money. So you're looking at about $160 a day in 1975, which was good money. The price of gasoline here was 27.9 a gallon then. We had a little hamburger joint here in town called the Arctic Circle. 5 burgers for $1. I ate a lot of burgers back then. Now if you guys look right behind you here, you see this square set of timber? That's what we used in bad ground. Now that originated from the tin mines in England. They even hired some English miners to come over here to show them how. If you look in the corners, that goes together like a puzzle. How to make those cuts, install it. Once that's installed and blocked in place, you can blast against it. It's not coming out.
We had these at General Electric on our floor.
Oh,
And
really?
I used to trip on them all the time. But they were like regular train tracks because they bring train cars in.
Yeah.
There's a bicycle thing.
Didn't think you'd see one of them down here, did you?
And all the banana seed on it.
Guys, come on up this way, we'll double up a little bit where everybody can hear a little better. Now, in 1915, when they finished this crosscut out here, they started hauling all the ore off the upper levels of this mine here through these 4 extraction chutes that's behind me here. This thing goes back 15 feet that way, 22 feet across, and 200 feet straight up. It's what they call an ore pocket. They dump the ore into this pocket, haul it out through these doors into this car. When this car is loaded, it weighs 1 ton. They had trammers here, young, husky men, some as young as 15. Each one got 1 car. He would load it himself, then push it by hand, all the way outside where you got on that man trip, dump it, and push it back in here by hand. They did that for 2 years. Very, very hard work at 25 cents an hour. Then they brought the mules down. Now the mules were taught on the surface to pull 4 of these cars. Well, you all know a mule can't count, right? But they were taught to listen to the chain. When that mule would hear that 4 chain run, he would take off on his own to go out to dump. Well, you gotta know miners too. They figure if he'll do 4, he'll do 5. No. A mule hear that 5th chain rattle, he stopped dead in his tracks. Sometimes even sat down. They refused to pull 5 cars. It was considered to be the first organized union. They were underground. Now the mules were kept down here for about 5 years without ever going on the surface. They would start losing their sensitivity to light because all they had was candles down here. Well, we had veterinarians on staff around the clock. When they noticed they were having a problem, they'd blindfold that mule, take him up on the surface. And we had what they call a dark barn. They put that mule in the dark barn, and each day gradually let a little bit of light in. Within about a week and a half to 2 weeks, that mule was sound, ready to go again. But they never brought him back underground. They figured they did their job here. What they did is they donated them to the ranchers and farmers here. You come here and put your name in the book. When your name come up, good mule, he was a gift to you. Take him home, treat him well. If a miner down here was ever caught in the street in a mule, he was fired on the spot. There was no putting up with it. Now after the mules, we went to these little Manchu motors, just like the one I pulled you in with. It would pull 14 of these cars. I was quite a bit faster, but it still wasn't fast enough. If you guys had a little bit of time to look around outside, you might have seen that long motor out there by the fence with that wooden pole, little wheel on the end of it, trolley motor. It ran on these trolley lines. That's 240 volts of DC current right there. A trolley motor would pull 22 3-ton cars at 35 miles an hour with no braking system. You can't put brakes on an ore car. You heard it coming, you simply got out of the way, or you got ran over. That's all there was to it. Now this thing. Some of the shift bosses here were walking 5 miles in the morning and 5 miles in the afternoon because you have to go see your people twice a day. They all got together and asked for transportation. They thought they'd get one of them little battery motors to run around on. Well, the company had a little better idea. This little jewel here. You can tell by that banana seat, 1961. Now, before they brought these down here, they had a big safety meeting with all the miners, and they told them, whatever you do, you stay off of that. That's that shift boss's transportation. Well, that was pretty much like telling a bunch of little kids in Walmart you can't play with the toys. Did we ever take it? Oh, yeah. Did I ever take it? Yes, I did. Did I ever bring it back? No. You didn't want to get caught on it. Now, a lot of people come down here and they think the miners' greatest fear down here was cave-ins. It wasn't. It was fires. You could smell the smoke, but you didn't know which way to go. Okay? Now, I want you guys to follow me on back this way. Now, this drill right here It's the first drill that the miners got after swinging that 12-pound hammer all day long. Well, of course they loved it. But it had its fault. This doesn't have a water hookup to it. You fire this thing up within 6 to 8 minutes, it would be so dusty in here, you couldn't see me from where you are right there. They used it a very short period of time, but long enough, they got the nickname. They called it the Widowmaker, from the silica and the dust. True story. Now, this one here, we went to it next. It's got a water port right here. You screw the water hose on it. When you turn that water on, it would come in here. There's a needle. It goes all the way into that drill still. It's hollow. There's 2 holes on the end of that bit. Water shoot out here. Flip this on. Nice clean hole. No more dust. No more silicosis either. But this thing has its drawbacks too. This thing weighs 288 pounds. You'd have to drill a pinhole in the back, hang a come along with a chain on it, wrap it around here, tighten it up. Loosen those 2 bolts. Jack it up to where your next hole's gonna be. Tighten the bolts up, loosen the come along, get it out of your way. Too slow. And in 1950, we went to this right here. This is a Gardner Denver 63. We call it a jackleg. This thing here is so efficient, they still use these 75 years later. They're that good. And they're very, very loud. You always stood on the side of it like this. That exhaust port's right there. 21 years underground, I hear nothing out of my right ear anymore from this machine right here. And when you got ready to start drilling with this, it used a lot of oil because it not only had rotation, it had a hammer. It hammered as it rotated, okay? You fill that oil bottle up with rockville oil. Then you put your foot right there on that crow's foot like that and give it just a little bit of air. Kind of sink that crow's foot in the ground a little bit, flip that on, now you give it all it's got. Now there's 150 pounds of pressure in this tube pushing this drill. You could drill a 7-foot hole with this in 6 minutes. It's that fast. One thing you never did though, you never got straddle of this little jewel. When it kicks out, it doesn't kick back. It kicks up, and it goes out. It only took me one time to never do that every time. Yeah. It hurts. Goes for it. Time we had a little convenience store, a motel, and a little bowling alley. You had to drive 60 miles to go buy groceries. Now, if you knew my wife, that wasn't going to happen. So I didn't even stop at the office. I made a U-turn. Went to Casa Grande. They just opened a new mine up there. I worked there for 3 years. Then I left there and went to New Mexico. Worked in the uranium mines. I only worked there for 90 days. I came home from work one night. My wife was sitting in the middle of the floor crying. And I asked her, what's wrong? She said, we're moving. I said, I haven't paid for this move yet. She said, we're moving. Okay, what happened? She went to the store that day and bought groceries. Whole cart full of groceries. Putting the baby in the car, they stole the cart of groceries while she was getting in the car. Oh. And she didn't know anybody. She got scared. So the next morning, I went down and quit, and we moved. I was mad for a long time over that, until I really realized what she did good for me. 81% of the men that stayed there died from radiation poisoning. Yeah. I always tell the younger guys when they come through here, when you decide to get married, make sure she's the hard-headedest woman you will ever meet. She might save your life one of these days, and she saved mine. Okay, now back to the mine tour. Now, right here, everything down here has a different name than what's up on the surface. This is the floor, right? Down here, no. It's called the bottom or the invert. The ceiling is called the back. The walls behind you back there, they were called the ribs. And wherever you were working is the face. This is the face right here. Now this is a standard round we used here in Bisbee. If you want to step back just a foot or so, there you go, where everybody can see. You got someone up where you can see here. It's what they call a 5-hole burn. You look right there in the center, you'll see it. You drill this hole first, 4 relievers around it. You only loaded this hole. When you shot this here, it would take a ring out about that big around, 7 foot back. and shoot it out here, kind of like a shotgun does. Now you have a hole to break to. You go to your closest reliever, this one, this one, this one, this one. All you're doing now is just creating a bigger hole, all the way out and all the way to the bottom. You always shot your bottom holes last, they're called lifters. They pick that muck pile up, throw it this way. Made it a little easier for us to get it out of here. Now, there's two things wrong with this drill out timer, though. There should be another row of holes across the top and another one over there behind that gentleman. The reason why, if you shot that round right there and you had bad ground, you wouldn't have room for that set of timber that I showed you up in the stope. You always made room for timber, just in case. Now, how you check for bad ground? You'd come in, muck pile, you'd wet it down good. You take what they call a scaling bar. You're always going to have a few little loose rocks in the back. Lock them down where it's safe to get out there. Then you take that scaling bar and you jam it into the back as hard as you can. If it sounds hollow, bad ground, timber. We used our own judgment, okay? Now out of this round right here, you would get 40 ton of ore out of one round. 40 ton on day shift, 40 ton on swing. That's 80 ton out of one stope. We had hundreds. So you can imagine how much ore was going out of this mine daily by train to the smelter in Douglas. At one time, this was the richest mine in the world, furnishing almost 15% of the world's copper right here in Bisbee. Now, let's go back this way now. You had 450 feet of rock above your head. You're still 1,500 feet. Now you have 2,000 because of this mountain going straight up. That's why. Now behind me here, this is the southwest shaft. It's what they call an interior shaft. It doesn't go to the surface. It just goes up to the 800-foot mark. So there was never any ore hauled out on here. Now before 1915, where they drove that crosscut that we came in, how the men got here to go to work. Out there in the middle of the parking lot again, there was another mine. It was called the Czar. The men would come down the Czar, and then they could ride that same man trip that you just rode over to here and get onto this one and go to any of the 8 levels in this mine. Like I said, never any ore, men and materials, and mules. Mule's too big, he won't fit inside. They had a big sling. They'd sling that mule up, tie his feet together and blindfold him and hoist him under it. Take him to whichever level they needed that mule on. There'd be 2 miners waiting on him. They'd pull him out, take that sling off, untie his feet, take that blindfold off, and get out of the way, pal. Because that mule didn't like that ride one bit. Now if you look over your head in here, some of this timber was put in here in 1917. The only timber we ever used in these mines here was pine and fir. And it was all harvested out of northern Arizona and northern California. Now I've had a lot of men ask me, Neil, why didn't you guys use hardwood? It's a lot stronger. Everyone knows hardwood is stronger, but it has a fault. It takes and takes and takes till it can't take it anymore. It snaps and breaks. This stuff doesn't do that. It smashes, it makes noises, it lets you know you have time to get it fixed, okay? Now out there in the parking lot again, when you guys were going in, if you looked over on the left, on the side of the mountain there where the concrete squares were, that was a timber slide. The train would come in above up there, roll the logs off down that timber slide. We had our own sawmills, cut all of our own timber for these mines right here in Bisbee. Now we had a lot of critters down here. We had mice, rats, cockroaches, bats, and an occasional scorpion that would come down on the timber trucks. The company tried to poison them all. It didn't do any good because the miners kept throwing their scrap lunches out. Here they'd come right back again. Then we found out they were very important to us. They could feel movement 100 times before we could. If you look down at that railroad and you seen them critters going out, by God, you go with them. It's gonna cave in. And it was that predictable. Once we learned how to watch, saved a lot of men's lives. Now, right back here, this mucking machine here is what they call a Finley. It's probably the oldest piece of mucking machine or mining equipment you'll ever be around. It's air operated. It only has 2 levers. This one here, forward and reverse. This is the what? dump bucket. It's got a bucket on the front. Now, this thing doesn't run on dirt, it's gotta have rail. What they would do is they'd put a slide rail on the inside of each one of those rails. When they went out as far as the main rail was, they'd back up, drop that bucket down, and shove those slide rails out into the muck pile where they could finish mucking out. A good operator will fill that car in about a minute. Okay? Any questions so far? Now, if you come out here, put both hands on it and pull straight down as far as you can. Good job. Do it one more time. Good job. Okay, now your turn. He's pulling it easier than me. Hard. Good job. All right. Thank you. Oh, I hope so. Thank you for coming today.
This is a 2-man bathroom on wheels, rides the tracks.
Oh my gosh, Danny.